Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Warren Williams. He's the creator of Energetic Alchemy and Alpha Alignment System. We explore a new paradigm of leadership for high performance, especially those with ADHD sensitivity or neurodivergent traits. So we learn from him how to convert overwhelm into clarity, build sustainable success without burnout, and lead from a place of embodied authority and intuitive precision. Welcome to the show, Warren.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Warren. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about energetic leadership. We'll talk about embodied success. We'll talk about this. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Yeah, no problem. So my journey started actually with comics, massively into comics, and not for what most people think. I was into comics because I saw in that characters that were larger than life, that would try to create some form of perfection within themselves. With great power comes great responsibility, as a famous quote from the comics. And as a young child, I was really motivated by the ability to have what we call self-mastery. And obviously, a lot of people know self-mastery is the most important trait in this world, because growth is the most important thing we all seek to do. So comics kind of motivated me into seeking a path of perfection. And through that, I went into martial arts. And I've studied 7 different styles of martial arts. And one of the key things about martial arts is mental discipline. And so that led me on a journey to self-discovery and becoming more and understanding more about the body and the mind. And, martial arts, it teaches you what not to do as well as what to do. So this is a level of self-mastery that I was really inspired by. And eventually that led me into learning more about the body. So I started to study biomechanics, movement of the body, pain prevention. And that led me into nutrition. Because once you master the physical muscles of the body, the next layer is the organs and glands and the cells and the tissues. So I studied nutrition. And that led me into, okay, what's next? Mind. So I started to go into alchemy and esoteric spiritual teachings. So I started to study for 10 years at a esoteric mystery school and learned more and more about the mind and spirituality. And if you don't go within, you go without. So these all led me into deeper levels of self-mastery. And so across the years, I basically studied with about 14 different mentors in the mind, in nutrition, in spirituality, in meditation, all the things that I could do to master this, this experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So from a common person's perspective, Warren, what is it that you are trying to do, or what you're trying to say?
Well, so for me, it's about getting people to get out their own way. So one of my expressions that I teach people is growth isn't about what you learn. It's about what you learn to let go of. And what you need to let go of is the programs, the blocks, all of the things, the limiting beliefs that get in the way. Because from my perspective, we are all supreme. We are all, almost like godly in a specific sense. But we come here as children being so balanced and so aligned. And then we start to learn these programs such as shame, guilt, judgment, remorse, and all of these programs get instilled in us. No child is born in sin. No child is born with racism or sexism or any of these things. They learn these things. And so these are programs that we get instilled in our bodies, in our minds, and we take those as absolute truth. And that's what creates the limitation. When we look at the studies and stats, 68,000 thoughts a day is what humans have. Now, the disconcerting thing about that is 90% of the thoughts we have today are the ones we had yesterday. And 90% of those thoughts are self-limiting. A child doesn't have limitation. A child can, just burp in a room and not care who's in the room, cry and not care if people want them to be quiet. A child has no fear of being themselves, but we as humans have learned limitation. We've learned to be shy. We've learned these things. They're not natural within us. So my goal is to help people to let go of the programs, let go of the blocks, because growth isn't about what you learn. It's about what you learn to let go of. And once you let go of everything that you think you are, all you'll find is stillness. And in stillness is where growth really happens.
Absolutely. So you talk about, leading from energetic stability rather than adrenaline. Help us understand that part. I thought adrenaline pumps up people and then they are, very effective, and rather stability is something, which they look only in terms of bank balance and all.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question. So basically, we have five main brainwave states. So delta is what we sleep in. It allows us to repair. It's the most important state that we need to go into, because the delta brainwave state allows us to go into the rest, the REM, deep sleep. And in deep sleep, we heal. So we need that brainwave state. But then the next state that we need to move into for productivity and, doing work is the beta brainwave state. And the beta brainwave state is reactivity to accomplish tasks, to create execution. The problem with beta is it uses energy. It cannibalizes muscle tissue. It uses adrenaline. And so if we stay in that state all the time, we are in what we call contraction. And you can get work done. You can be productive and efficient, but at what cost? The cost is to your energy reserves, to the organs and glands. So it's not about just using adrenaline, because adrenaline is only supposed to be used in a life or death situation. The problem is most people are using adrenaline all day, every day, and it's finite. And because it's finite, you will tap into your reserves. And when you tap into reserves, you damage the organs and glands of the body. And that is not health. That is not what we call homeostasis. So in that, what we need to do is move into alpha, which is why I talk about alpha alignment, because alpha alignment is the state that people go into when they rest, when they recover, when they go into meditation, when they go into stillness. So it's an actual brainwave state that slows us down. And what we're supposed to do in the working day is delta, to sleep so we can be productive, then beta, to execute, and then alpha, to recover. And if we go from beta to alpha throughout the day when we are working and trying to be productive, we will recover lost energy rather than deplete the body. And so adrenaline itself should not be used, but it is what people use. And so it's what we call yang. It's the forceful way of doing things. And that's an old paradigm, because we hear about overwhelm and burnout all the time. And that's because people are using adrenaline in their day-to-day work rather than life or death situations.
Absolutely, Warren. Today it's a global economy. People work across different time zones. How do you utilize all these things that you said into people who are working globally? Somebody has to report staying in, say, in Asia, but has to work according to US time zones or Europe time zones or any other time zone.
Yeah, it's a great question, because what you're alluding to is what we call the circadian rhythms, the natural wake-sleep cycle of the body. And you're absolutely right. So what I would suggest to people that have to work what we call nights, or very early in the morning when they're supposed to be in sleep recovery, is to actually, rather than do random, what we call constant changing of their work time, try to find a regular time. Even if it's nighttime, it's actually better to work nights all the time than it is to work rotating time zones, because it actually throws the body into chaos. So when you can work nights, your body starts to adapt, and everybody knows this. If you drink alcohol the first time, you cough and so on, but you adapt to it. If you smoke the first time, you gag, but you adapt to it. So the body is incredible at adaptation. So it would be better to work nights than to work random shifts that are constantly changing, because the body can't adapt. So for people that have to work nights, one of the things that they should do is what I call quantum resets. Because it's stressful to work at night and your body wants to be in relaxation and sleep, what you can do is every 2 hours whilst you're working, spend 5 minutes taking 5 deep breaths. Everybody knows breathing is really good for you. It's such a big buzzword now, but what that does is when you breathe slowly, it slows the heart rate. See, there's a thing. The mind's primary vehicle of expression and truth is the nervous system. The nervous system gives a feedback to a mind to let us know things are okay. It's not the mind that informs the body, it's the body that informs the mind, which is why there's a famous book called The Body Keeps the Score. The mind holds the information, but it's the body that holds the trauma. And so working nights is stressful to the body. So what you do is you harmonize the body. So if someone spent 5 minutes every single day, every 2 hours, taking 5 deep breaths, that regulates the nervous system so that you can manage stress far better. And so it's not about working perfect times if you can't, it's about managing your body whilst you're doing those things, because the body can adapt if you give it the stimulus to do so.
Absolutely. Let's understand this through your, systems: energetic alchemy and energetic operating system and alpha alignment system. Help us understand what these are for a common person to understand,
Yeah.
and how do they make best use of these.
Yeah. So energetic alchemy is we are energetic beings. And so it's just understanding that, first of all, that we are energetic beings having a physical or human experience. Alchemy, and most people know this, from my perspective, alchemy is the ability to transform from one state to the next. Trans or transmission means to move. And so because most people are stressed and unhappy and unfulfilled, it's about changing the polarity from one state to the next, because it's always choice. Everybody knows this. You either choose to do good or choose to do bad. And when you make that choice, you are alchemizing the past version of you that was limited, that was fearful, that was hopeless. And you move in that through alchemy, transforming that into something positive, because there are always two sides to the coin. So the goal is, rather than be upset about your life, it's about what can you do to actually inspire your life. Always seek the solution, not focus on the problem. And when people ruminate on their past, they get stuck in the past. So it's not about what's happening in the past, it's about what's happening or what can change in the future. You are always one moment away from growth, just a choice. So that's the alchemy part of it. But when it comes to alpha alignment, as I was saying earlier with the 5 brainwave states, it's about getting people to understand the brainwave states that regulate a whole system, and then doing things daily that condition the body, not the mind, the body, to get into alpha brainwave state. Because in that state, you recover, you receive, you intuit. And if you're in that state, you can create the world that you want. The problem is most people are so stressed out that stress itself engages the left brain. And the left brain is purely logical. You can't create solutions in the left brain. So to access the right brain, which is meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, breath work, you have to be in the alpha brainwave state. The alpha brainwave state is the gateway for possibility, for intuition, and for solutions. So when people, especially in places like India, they understand about esoteric, they understand about spirituality, but they may not reference it to the brainwave state. And so the brainwave state is how fast or how slow the brain moves. And the slower you move your brain, the more you are able to tap into your own innate intuition. So many people make bad choices and then they say, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Who knew? Your higher self knew. And so you just have to tap into that source, and you get that point through the alpha brainwave state. So if you can do Tai Chi for 5 minutes, Qigong, breath work, going for a walk, journaling throughout the day, it allows you to slow down, to center yourself, and to access your highest version. And in that, there are the solutions. Everyone knows the answer. You often get advice that you already know. You're just looking for somebody to give you permission. And so if you can just tap into that yourself, you will create the reality you want. The helping hand you're looking for is at the end of your own arm.
Absolutely. So, who are your clients? Generally, what is it that people come to you for? How do you help them?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, as you said, my energetic alchemy is an energetic operating system for leaders. And, everyone's a leader, or everyone should be. It's about leading yourself first. And you lead yourself through 3 things: position, what you stand for; presence, the energy you give to others and then invite others in; and then communication, your ability to articulate your truth. And so that's one of the things I do. I work with leaders that want to grow to the next level because most people are stuck in their own programs. And those programs either help you or hinder you. And so my goal is to help people like get out of their own way, to find their own innate truth. And once you get people to clear the blocks, the sabotage patterns, the blind spots, they become who they really were. And then therefore, they're not just successful, they're fulfilled. So my goal is to work with leaders, people that are inspired for growth. Because if I help to change one person, they change 10. And if they change 10, that changes 10. It creates a ripple effect. So that is my goal, to help people lead themselves, to then lead others to change the world. And, it's the goal for all of us, regardless of whether we're in commerce or we're in, having a Spotify channel or martial arts. Everyone's goal is to reach a level of leadership to help others.
Absolutely. Warren, a lot of leaders, they are known as leaders by their designation and how the world or their office or anyone else outside perceives them.
Yeah.
And you talk about leadership growing within themselves, especially for leaders. How do they calibrate these part of things? You are taking them to a whole new different world, whereas the world that they are generally accustomed to is the outside world. How do you help them calibrate these two parts? Or one is might be totally new for them.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So most people, they in this world, we worship rank, status, power. And that's the very left brain, very analytical way of looking at things. And so it's letting people understand that those are what you do. That's not who you are. And you can be a far better leader when you actually step back from the external, the validation, the status, and then move into the internal, which is the self and the present. So what I talk about, to answer your question, is be, do, have. This is what I try to get everybody to do. Be, do, have. Most people in the Western world, they're in this mindset of achieving through having and doing. When I do this particular thing, when I run this company, when I make this money, when I have 100,000 people following me, only then can I be happy, and that is the be. So they do to create, and they create as have. And then after have, then they can be fully present. Only when I have all these things, I'll be happy. And so my goal is to let them understand happiness starts from within. And that is being first. And when to be is to be fully present. If you look at a child, the child doesn't care about what's happening in 10 minutes. It only cares about what's happening right now. It doesn't care that you played with it 2 hours ago. It only cares about right now. That is being in the moment. And you can only do that in alpha. And you can only do that when you slow down and regulate. And when you're in the be, the have simply shows up. When you be and you can do from the place of being soul aligned, you are doing you're doing God's purpose. You are doing your soul's purpose. And then from that place, having shows up. You acquire success simply because you're being present. And now, especially in the world of AI and all these things, human connection and authenticity is so important because information is free. Information is limitless now. What people desire is connection. And the way to be connected is to be true. And the way to be true is to be. And once leaders can do that, they'll get far more growth in their business because people are buying the energy of the person, not just the product or the title of the person.
Absolutely, absolutely. And talking of leadership, you talk about, converting neurodivergent traits into strategic leadership advantage. Help us understand this part of leadership.
Yeah, so most people nowadays, they define themselves on titles such as ADHD or OCD and all these sort of things. And so we've gotten into a place in the world where people, they keep adding labels to themselves, and those labels create limitation. So when I look at ADHD and all of these things, this is shot up massively. If we look at the studies and the stats, 50 years ago, ADHD didn't exist. ADD didn't exist. None of these labels existed. What's happening is the world is accelerating and people are going through more distortion, more busyness. And what that does is it basically fires up the nervous system. So the nervous system is hyper-stimulated now. So it's not that these are diseases or some form of symptom. What they are is an expression of dysregulation of the nervous system. So we've got to stop giving ourselves these labels because we believe what we're told. And oftentimes it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We think, okay, I'm neurodivergent, something that I've got a problem. And then they stick to that because you believe it, it becomes reality. And so it's not really about your mind. Again, it's about the body. If you can regulate the nervous system, if you go to a doctor and you have anxiety, they say, okay, breathe. Breathing isn't helping the mind, it's helping the body. And in helping the body to slow down, the mind slows down. So when you regulate the nervous system, because the mind's primary vehicle of expression is the nervous system informs the mind that it is safe to slow down. And so once the mind slows down and the body is in coherence, then the person will react based on the body, because there are these three brainwave states, or these three biological oscillators. The brain, when it's healthy, should regulate itself at 8 to 12 hertz. That's been studied and proven by HeartMath. If people want to look up HeartMath, is a big clinic in America which studied humans to find this out. Regulated brainwave is 8 to 12 hertz. That's alpha. Regulated heart rate is about 60 beats per minute. Regulated respiratory rate is 6 to 10 breaths per minute. And a regulated peristaltic wave, which is the colon, in order for you to evacuate waste from your body, your colon should pulsate 6 times per minute. And so those numbers are quite similar, 8 to 12, 6 to 10, 6. They're very similar numbers. That's called homeostasis. And homeostasis is the state of balance. That is the nervous system balanced. When your body is balanced, there is no chaos. And all these symptoms that people talk about go away because you're regulated. What people are expressing with these labels is simply dysregulation and autonomic chaos. And so the mind perceives that and reacts that way. And so they have these symptoms, but it's not an actual label that they should hold. They should just regulate the body. So in summary, when you regulate the body, everything changes. And that's my goal, is to help people regulate their body in these symptoms. Symptom just means signal. Signals coming from the body. Change the terrain, the outcome is different.
Absolutely, absolutely well explained. There is so much to learn from you, Warren, about all this. And I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of readers would want to connect with you, learn more from you, be your client. What's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah. So do you have links? Do you post links to your channels and stuff? So one of the things I really want to do is help people build communities, and community is king. So I would like people to explore my free Telegram group, which is Soul Aligned Leaders. And in that group, there are people that are like-minded, that are trying to grow, that talk about their pains, talk about their growth, and a high tide raises all boats. We all grow together. So that's the only thing I'd want to share, is my free Telegram group. And if people are aligned, they can join that group and learn more. It's all free. So I'll share that link with you that you can share to your listeners.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.